Hi, I'm Deanna Little and I teach flute at MTSU, and I'm very happy to be bringing you some tips for the 2024 MidState Flute Etudes. Should you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me at deanna.little@mtsu.edu. I want to congratulate you because if you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you are working on improving your flute playing by preparing the Mid-State Etudes. A couple of tips I wanted to throw at you. In my opinion, I think what you should be striving for as the number one thing is sound. Work towards playing with your most beautiful sound. Second tip I have for you: don't go faster than you can play everything as accurately and beautiful as you can. It's not a speed race. It's much more important for you to learn how to make a beautiful sound and learn the correct rhythms, the correct notes, and with a sense of musicality. Always, always, always practice slowly with a metronome when you're first learning the etude, so that way you don't learn it with mistakes. And lastly, the flute takes so much air. And one thing I find myself saying to all of my students and reminding myself of is to breathe. So breathe deeply and breathe fully and use your full breath of air to produce a sound on the flute. Good luck. The 9-10 technical excerpt has two sharps in the key, F and C. It's in the key of B minor, which is a relative of D major, so I would practice both my D major and my B minor scales in preparation of this excerpt. In measure 1, watch out for the A sharp. We don't see A sharp very often. It's simply B flat, which you play all the time. I recommend highlighting it if it throws you off. Begin this excerpt slowly with the metronome so that you learn right notes and right articulation with a good sound. Leave off your grace notes when you first are learning this excerpt so that you establish a really good solid rhythm before you go ahead and add those ornaments. Learn it with dynamics from the very start. That will be helpful to you. You begin with mezzo forte, second measure, you're at a forte. In measure 2, I take a quick breath after the E natural trill, and in measure 3, I take a quick breath after the A natural trill. That helps me get all the way to measure 5. And in measure 5, I can take a sneak breath after the staccato notes if I need it, and then of course I take a really good breath after I end the fermata low F sharp. Watch out for the articulation and the rhythm and the trills. I trill both middle register and low register F sharp to G with my ring finger on my right hand, and go slowly enough so that you can do the correct articulation right from the start. And I also recommend that you leave off the grace notes, making sure that sound and articulation and right notes and rhythm is the first priority before you add in ornaments. Measure 6 begins forte with repeated notes. There are repeated notes throughout this excerpt. Always tongue them clearly with a little bit of bounce. I want to give you another reminder to tongue where it says, and do note that you have an A sharp in measure 6 as well as measure 7. Measure 7 has a dynamic shift to mezzo piano. I try to strive for a little bit more of a light feel here, and the middle register E natural trill is the same in measure 2. You're going to trill your right hand first finger E to F sharp, and it's just maybe 2 or 3 flips of the finger. It's just a very brief trill. beats 3 and 4 of measure 7 have a crescendo and lead you into the final 2 measures of the piece. Measure 8 is marked forte, and yikes, look at that measure. You go forte, piano, mezzo forte, forte, and then diminuendo. So that is a lot of dynamic shifts. I think you can also not only show the changes with volume, but length of note. So if it's piano, be a little bit lighter and shorter. And if it's forte, you can dig in a little bit more and just be stronger and maybe a hair longer. The last half note, B natural. Sing on it, make it beautiful. Add a little vibrato. And okay, another reminder, it's not a speed race. Only go as fast as you're going to play this excerpt musically and accurately. The 910 Lyrical Flute excerpt is challenging. It's both in the key of A flat major and then also F minor for a few measures. Learn both of those scales in preparation. I also recommend learning the excerpt with your metronome clicking on slow eighth notes. Put your clink on 1, and then you'll have 6 eighth notes in each measure, and that will be really useful for breaking it down and learning it really well at a slow tempo. If you can make the first 4 measures of this excerpt in one breath, fantastic. If not, I recommend taking a breath after the D flat in the 3rd measure, just a quick one, a musical one that will help you get to the end of the phrase. Be sure to retard, slow down in the 4th measure and diminuendo to piano, and notice the fermata over the A flat. Measures 5, 6, and 7 move into the key of F minor. I like to try to create a little bit more of a haunting color in beginning at the mezzo piano in measure 5. I use a little bit more of an oo syllable in my throat and create a little bit more of an open, gentle sound. There is a stringendo in measure 6. I really start to move the tempo off of the 4th eighth note beat, and then I will accelerando all the way to the high F. High F is forte, so make sure you have gotten a really good breath before you begin in measure 5. And then when you get to the high F, sing and vibrate with your most beautiful sound. Measure 9 is a cadenza. Take your time. If you can make it in one breath, fabulous. If you need to take a breath so that you play with your most beautiful sound and clean fingers, take it wherever you choose to take it, but do it musically. I might recommend a breath after the low F before you begin the chromatic scale. The cadenza is marked con bravura, which means boldly and brilliantly, so play with confidence. However, I do recommend you diminuendo up to the high G so that moving into measure 10, the final phrase of the excerpt, it matches and blends a little bit better. The last phrase of the lyrical excerpt begins in measure 10 and goes all the way to the end. If you can play it in one breath, fantastic. If you need to take a breath so that you maintain your most beautiful sound and good intonation, I recommend taking a breath after the C natural in measure 12. Just take a quick one, which will get you to the end, and you will have plenty of breath support to retard as well as diminuendo and end with a really beautiful A flat. Be sure that you're lifting your left hand first finger off on all middle register E flats and Ds throughout the excerpt. Be sure that you are tonguing where it says. It's a legato tongue because it's a lyrical excerpt, so I use a do articulation. Lastly, only play this excerpt as fast as you play it well. That means with your most beautiful sound, the right notes, the right rhythm, the right articulation, and musically.